Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Off Script with Pastor Jared.
And intern Aaron, or Aaron the intern. I don't remember.
And the Aaronic blessing. So back again, and would like to give you guys a topic today that came to my mind recently over the last few weeks. I jotted it down on my little notepad on my phone where I keep my off script ideas. And I thought to myself, you know, this could be good for any church, definitely for our church, but for any church that's having to, or maybe trying to, bring young people into positions of leadership or just meaningful roles in their church. And I know every church goes through this where, you know, you look up one day, all your deacons are 70 years old, all your committee members and chairpersons are above 50 or 40, and you know, maybe you have an older staff, and you know, you look around and you think, well, it's not like we don't have any young people in our church. Right. They're just not leading anything or have a meaningful role doing anything. So let's think about the example that we can all identify with. How many times, yes, you, Aaron, or you people out in listening land, have you gone to apply for a job when you were younger and they said, I'm just sorry, you need a little bit more experience. There it is.
Yeah. A
little bit more experience. And then maybe you've thought to yourself, well, this is kind of an entry-level position, right. So
how else can I get experience?
Need, this is the job that I'm hoping would give me experience, right? So that can be kind of a frustrating thing, but that plays itself out in church life and wanting to be a part of different things. So I want to start with an example, and I'm going to give you time, Aaron, to rack your brain for your best example.
I got one. So.
I've got two that I want to give.
Okay.
All right, of times when I, as young Jared, at my home church, shout out Lakeland, Florida, Scott Lake Baptist Church, I feel could have kind of, you know, made fun of me a little bit, but they didn't. So I was leading our youth worship band, and this would have been mid-2000s. I was in high school, and we started up a worship band, me and my buddies, Cody and James, and we were leading our worship team, and I was picking, for the most part, the songs, and they would help me, but I would pick the songs, you know, 3, 4, 5 songs every week. And I remember one time our youth pastor came to me, and he said, hey, I've got a great song that is pretty new, and you're going to want to see if you can get this into your rotation because this is a good song. And so I listened to it. He played it for us. And I'm kind of like smirking through the whole thing, you know, and I listened to it and I say, Adam, that's his youth pastor's name was Adam. I said, Adam, this song is kind of lame. It's boring. It's like weird and Irish.
It's not up with the kids.
It doesn't have like the Hillsong, you know, build. It doesn't have the bridge, you know, the drums. Like it's just kind of lame, you know, and I want you guys to know this. The title of that song was "In Christ Alone." in my young days, I did not care for that song.
You missed that one.
And now, I mean, I think it's the greatest song written maybe in the last century. I mean, it's incredible song, and I've said to multiple people, I want that song at my funeral. Like it is a great song. But at the time, I didn't have the wisdom or the taste or the ability to understand how great it was. Maybe that's because I was young. Maybe that's because I wasn't as sanctified as I, you know, got later.
Right.
But I couldn't comprehend how great it was. Here's the lesson. Someone could have come to me, Adam could have come to me and said, and destroyed me and said, like, look, your tastes are so bad. You have no business picking music for our kids. Like, get out of this worship band. If you can't recognize the quality of this song, and that would have been fair to say that, you know, you really don't have the discernment to be doing this. But that's not what happened. They stuck with me. I grew. And what happened was I kept a good taste in my mouth for the church. Yes, for my church, but the church. And I was always had a positive view of the local church because I didn't go to a church where people were always criticizing me. When I tried to do something, there weren't people there telling me how bad an idea was or how young and dumb I was, or they tried to just ride me and correct every little thing I did. I mean, when I look back at my time at Scott Lake, I did a lot of things that were firsts at that church. You know, I brought a lot of guitar and drum and younger things to that church. Yes, my dad was the pastor of the church, and I had some ability, some clearance maybe to get away with things. Right. But nobody complained to me because they just loved me and I loved them, and we got along, and it was great.
And they probably just appreciated that you're actually trying and actually willing to be involved.
They saw a young person who cared. And again, sure, I was the pastor's kid, but my friends were doing that too. I had friends in my circle, my buddies that were my peers. They were right there with me doing stuff, and they saw that. And a lot of those guys are still in church today serving. And I think because of that attitude, it kept for me a love of church and kept for me this idea that young people can try stuff in church and not have to worry about just getting eaten alive when they mess up. And you will mess up because you're young and dumb sometimes. You don't have the discernment of a 50-year-old senior pastor. You just don't. You have to go through some things. So I don't know. Do you have a story like anything like that you can tell me?
I couldn't think of anything at first, but I started thinking about even just recently this summer with the senior adult Bible study that happens on Thursdays.
Yes.
So you and the people of the senior adult Bible study graciously let me help out leading the worship time and getting to teach a couple times throughout the summer. And I really miss doing that.
You're welcome back anytime, buddy.
I'm a strict professor for that hour, so I don't know if I can get out. I hope he doesn't listen to this. But I remember this summer when we first, and I love hymns. I love hymns. I don't know if people know that about me, but my fiance will make fun of me sometimes for doing so. But I mean, I will listen to the Gaithers, my entire car ride.
You play the Together for the Gospel album and put
Together
the top
for the
down
Gospel
the convertible and shout at the sky.
Yeah, just all the classics. Like I just love, and I don't know if I can say I don't love a lot of contemporary Christian music, but some of it's really good. I think there's a lot of richness though in the history of hymns. But so I love those songs. I was looking forward to being able to lead them for the senior adults. But I found out very, very, very quickly that it is difficult to play those hymns on guitar. Like the modern contemporary worship songs are made for a rhythm that it's easy to play on rhythm guitar.
Not a lot of 7 chords.
Right.
Used.
But you play those for hymns, and man, it is difficult. And I figured out over this while the summer was progressing that it was a lot easier to use the keyboard to play those older hymns because that's what they primarily had. So, but they were very gracious. They didn't say like, "Oh my goodness, you messed up one of our favorite hymns. We're never going to talk to you again. We don't want you here. You're excommunicated from senior adult Bible study."
I think I remember a couple times too, and this happened to Mitch on a Sunday night as well.
Oh yeah,
where you do the version that as the young person. But the hymn that they grew up on maybe has a different rhythm.
Yeah, I know a lot of they have a lot more like modern phrasings and just how you pause between different words. And the verse and the chorus, that pause there does not exist in old hymns.
Right.
It's like right when you finish the verse, you're right into the chorus. Yeah. So, but they were very gracious to me, and I appreciate that they gave me the chance to make a couple mistakes and just enjoy doing so and worshiping together.
And what does that do for you as far as wanting to stick with it in the local church and keep doing things and keep trying things?
It's made me sad that I can't go back to that adult Bible study. I think if they chose to be rude towards me, which I don't think they would, but if they had, then I would be like, you know what? It's fine that I'm not going back to it. But more so it made me excited to be there and excited to try the new things and to be able to fellowship with them. So
the message that I wanted to get across today is that if you're in a church, you want to create a culture where young people feel that they can give something a try and not be in fear the entire time.
Right.
That if they get it wrong, that they're going to get hate mail, or they're going to get their ear worn out, or, made to feel like a young and dumb kid when they tried something. Because what you want is young people to get into the groove of church life and stay there. That's what you want, to get in, and that young person becomes that youth becomes a college person who is very much involved, and that college student becomes a young adult, and a young married, and a middle age, and then that's what you want, is to keep people engaged, and that starts by letting people try. And sometimes when you let people try that are inexperienced, they make bad calls,
right?
And not destroying them and breaking their spirits just because of that. So I got another example I'll give you. We, in my church growing up, used to sing primarily songs with tracks. I know now I do my own music with guitars and things, but they were used to playing the accompaniment tracks.
I know how it is.
Yeah, you know how it is. And so I was in a Randy Travis phase.
Oh no!
And I know, and you think I can sing Randy Travis pretty good?
No, you gave a little taste early, and I was like, man, I thought you were playing it from your phone. For
I'm a cover artist for Randy Travis. Secretly, I moonlight on the weekends. But I was in a Randy Travis phase, and he had a song called "Pray for the Fish," and it was so fun. Like, that song just had I could picture the Sunday night crowd just clapping along with me, and they did. So I sang the song with the track and had a lot of fun with it. People were clapping. They encouraged me afterwards. Nobody gave me a hard time.
Right.
Why would they give me a hard time? Well, upon review of those lyrics, the song kind of communicates that baptism may have a role in salvation.
Kind of.
It's not, the lyrics aren't great, okay?
Nah.
But you know how sometimes in fun songs, the theology can get sort of hidden because you're more so thinking about, the fun you're having, the smiles and the clapping.
Right.
So this is an example of that. And, when you look at the lyrics, you're like, you know what? This song does communicate that there is some role in baptism washing sins away.
Right.
Nowadays, I would easily spot and discern that, and that would never, I wouldn't do it. I would have more of a strong stance of, all right, I'm not going to do that song. No matter how much fun it is, I'm not doing it. In those days, I didn't have that. I didn't have that built up, that theology muscle, that discernment muscle. It just wasn't built up when I was a high schooler. I know for a fact there were people in my church that understood that song wasn't the best choice.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? No one did. Nobody came and wore my ear out and said, "You don't know what you just sang. You just brought heresy into this church." No one did that. My dad even talked to me about it, and we talked about how that probably isn't a good song to do again, and we just sort of left it there. But I didn't walk away thinking, man, church people are mean. They hate me. They don't, in this church, they don't even want me to, anytime I try to do something, there they are, putting me down, cutting me down. You don't want that. That stifles young people's desire to be a part of it. Imagine if you have young people running the sound booth, for example, and they're just trying to serve the Lord and do what they think is the best for the church. Yeah. And every time they turn around, somebody is telling them how loud it is, or how soft it is, or how they don't like the bass, or they don't like the lights, or they don't like the this or that.
It's discouraging, man. I've been there. So
eventually, what do you? I mean,
right. You're just tired of. You're like, well, then I'm just not going to do it if
right, because
I can't do it right.
You're just trying to help.
Right.
Most of the time, when you're a young person, there's no benefit for you.
Right.
Serving.
You're not like secretly thinking like, ooh, I'm gonna
take over,
or I'm gonna
pay, or I'm gonna get paid one day, or you're not thinking about that. You're just, I want to help. I want to serve the Lord. This is a thing I can do. I think I can help my church. And you go in feeling good, and then boom, somebody comes in and drops that. Yeah. And when you're young and an older person comes and cuts you like that, it hurts.
Yeah, it does.
So I always tell people, look, when you're young, you don't know a lot of things. Let me confess. Since I'm confessing things, I'll confess one more thing to you. When the year would have been 2001 or 2, for Christmas, I was given a copy of The Fellowship of the Ring, the movie. the first Lord of the Rings, in the first of the 3 trilogy. I popped it in, not really knowing what it was. A family member got it for me. I took the hardest nap of my life during that first movie. I did not like it. I was not interested in it. I fell asleep. And for the next 10 years, when anyone brought up the Lord of the Rings to me or fantasy, I did not care. I didn't want to watch it. It was boring to me. And not until later did I have this change of opinion in life where I wanted to start watching it. Now I think those are like the 3 best movies ever made. But when I was that age, I didn't understand. I didn't care. I just so younger people are going to make bad calls. Okay, sometimes. But it doesn't mean you cut them off, you cut them out, and you don't let them participate in your church life. Yeah,
to be fair to younger Pastor Jared, I would agree with him on his opinion of the first Lord of the Rings movie. The others are okay. The first one was hard to watch.
You agree with 2001 Jared on that one?
I do.
But so just think practically. So think with me here. What are some areas where younger people could meaningfully serve in their local church?
I mean, I think hopefully the local church has many opportunities for people of all ages. So there's, of course, like the general ministries where it doesn't really matter how old or what background you're from. You can serve in it, such as a food pantry ministry, like what we have here with delivering food or helping out the Union Mission. But I think that one that's specifically good for youth would definitely be helping out in youth ministry, whatever that might look like, helping out whenever there are events, so that I've been there before. I've been to churches that I wasn't necessarily a part of when I was younger, and at times it didn't seem like there were any young people volunteering. So at the event, I mean, it would all be middle-aged and older people who come up to me and welcome me and say that they're excited to see me here. And I'm like, I kind of want someone who's younger from this church to come up and say that to me. Of course, I appreciate and would always appreciate the help of the older generation, but I think it's cool to be able to see people of all generations helping at various events and stuff just to represent your church. But of course, you mentioned the different medias, audio, video, the slides, stuff like that. Very easy ways to kind of be introduced to volunteering in the local church.
Do you feel like on a committee that someone who is a college student should be allowed to be a part of a sitting committee of the church?
And I think that's why I appreciated so much the pastor search committee, is that it wasn't just older people and it wasn't just younger people, but we had a pretty good representation of younger people and older people throughout the church. Now, different people might argue for different things, but I think it was a pretty good representation. And I think that should be, a common thing for any of the committees. You don't want to just have a bias or just have a perspective from one generation, because, I mean, it's true that different generations have different perspectives. My parents understand things about the culture, different aspects that I don't understand, and I understand things that they might not understand. So I think having a well-rounded representation is always beneficial. So
yeah, and at some point you have to take a chance on a younger person,
right?
Because they don't have the track record that you can look at and say, oh, obviously this is going to be a slam dunk. You being on this committee, Aaron, is going to be a slam dunk. You may not have that. You can't look at years and years of faithfulness. You got to give them a chance and see what they do with it, and have a little more grace than you might have with a 50-year-old, because again, I go back to when I try to sort of diagnose why I am where I'm at a younger age. I think it's because the people at my home church let me try things, right, and they weren't mean to me, and they let me make mistakes, but also successes. I got to do both. I mean, I can think back to when me and our buddies in college, our college group had a heart to start a college worship service for college students on Sunday nights after Sunday night church. and we called it After Hours, and we, had our own band, and we brought in speakers, and like it eventually flamed out. But we ran it for several months, and like it felt like a little church plant. It wasn't perfect. I can go back now with my current eyes and dissect all the problems that we made, the mistakes that we made, but they let us do it. They let us run it. We had this run of the sanctuary. We could invite people. We could, do whatever we wanted to do, really. I mean, there was leadership helping us, but we ran that as college students.
That's pretty awesome.
And no one tried to tell us no. I mean, they let us do it. And I think something about that was a spark for me in church planting. When I think about the fact that I got to go to Colorado, I look back to that little time when we had after hours at Scott Lake, and Sunday nights at 8:00 or whenever it was, and I think that was a piece of why there was a spark to church plant, because I'd kind of done something like it before, starting a new service, and the music was probably too loud. The songs were probably a little shallow. Looking back, I would do a lot of things different, but I got to try something, and I learned that the value of doing something for the kingdom of God and trying something rather than just being complacent or apathetic. And guess what? I wasn't one of those 70% that left the youth group and you couldn't find them after college. I was there. I stuck through. And it's not because I'm great. It's because my church was great to me. They loved me, and I stuck with them. And I think you want a culture like that in your church.
Yeah. I think a big need, at least just speaking from my perspective for our generation, is just the need to feel like you're needed. I think a lot of times we grew up in a very easy culture that everything is provided for you, technology, fast food, whatever you want, it's easy access and whenever you want it to be, and everything's kind of handed to you, and at times you can kind of feel like, well, why does anyone need me if we can just solve this solution with somebody else? So I'm thankful for the people in my life who gave me chances to lead, whether that's in school or ministry or work or whatever it is. And I hope that one day I'll be able to give other people those same chances.
Yep.
So,
I mean, that's a lot of the things that I'm letting you do as an intern are because I was an intern here. And I think back to, well, what are things I got to do? What are things I didn't get to do? What would I do differently? I think about when I first came here to Kirby Woods, and I, within a month of me being here, I was leading the youth worship band because Josh and Joe were very open to having help and people lead them. I was 22 at that time when I came here, and boom, I was jumping in leading. So like my whole life has really been, people were open and willing to having me jump in, and that benefited both sides all through my whole life. That's been what it is. So that's why I think I'm passionate about it, because everywhere I've gone, there's been opportunities to serve, and people have basically been open arms toward me. And I think that's why I grew quickly. And I'm a senior pastor of an established church at age 33, here at Kirby Woods, because people have been good to me, and I owe that to them. So I think you want a church culture like that. Let the young people have a chance. Maybe that's the title of this podcast.
Yeah. And if I could give one more encouragement, I guess maybe if young people are listening, you just remember Paul writing the letter to Timothy, who is kind of his younger follower up that he kind of trained up in Ephesus, I believe, in ministry. And he wrote to him in 1 Timothy 4:12, saying, "Let no one look down on your youthfulness, but rather in speech, conduct, love, faith, and purity, show yourself an example of those who believe." So don't just sit back and expect to be given those opportunities to be the example. Extend the desire that you have to be that example and do it well. So
on that, we'll close another good podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Share this with a friend. And if you would, leave us a review, maybe a 5-star review if you're feeling generous. We don't have nearly enough reviews on this podcast, so it'd be great if you take the time to rate and review this, share with a friend. And then if you have a topic that you would like to be discussed on Off Script, just email pastor@kirbywoods.org and let me know what you'd like to hear, and we will equip you, Mr. or Mrs. Saint. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you Sunday. Bye.